I'm gonna have to pee soon. Just so you know.
Well, then just stop this shit
No,
right now.
no,
and
I
go
think this
pee.
is good. Anyway, you trust the game. We're good. We're recording. So, welcome. We're back in a new studio.
We're studio.
We're in a new studio. We're in lovely, down in Laguna, California. I won't say which one we're in.
Oh, okay.
Because
We're in Laguna Woods, where the old people are.
We're at the Laguna Woods Starbucks, and they will kick us out at any minute because it closes at 6 p.m.
It closes at 6 p.m. because that's when everyone goes to Sizzler.
Can we talk about how the...
Can we talk about the husband?
Can we talk about the husband? That was one of our most popular episodes. It was a hit. But can we talk about how the most traffic you'll experience in the greater Laguna area will be right outside the Olive Garden at 4:30 p.m.?
I thought you were going to say the Trader Joe's because that's where we were
That was
earlier,
close.
And it was a madhouse.
But the Olive Garden at 4:30 p.m., it's dangerous.
They want their breadsticks and salad. What do you want from them?
What does it cost for the breadsticks and salad at Olive Garden?
Breadsticks are free.
But it's like the salad, soup, and breadsticks thing. Like, what is it? Isn't it like $10 or something?
that I
you get
don't
all the
know.
unlimited deal.
That I don't know.
I have a story for you.
God.
A man bought the olive...
A man, a plan, a canal, Panama. What?
That is the most autistic reference you've made on this entire podcast.
It's a palindrome.
Yes, and the worst part is I knew exactly what it was from.
Everyone knows
We
what
had
it's
to learn
from.
it. Not everybody knows what it's from.
Everyone knows that palindrome. It's the longest Well,
Wreath car.
a man,
Anyway.
a plan, a canal, Panama is much longer than
A man,
race
a
car.
plan, a canal. Anyway. Back to Olive Garden. So this gentleman...
I don't want to go back to Olive Garden. I don't want to be family.
when you're when you're here, you're on life support. Olive Garden. So, back to
I might
Olive.
find a husband.
Well, you might find a husband there, one who's close to the end.
And then we could talk about the husband.
We there was a story this week about this guy who have you heard of the never-ending pasta pass at Olive Garden?
Yeah.
So he bought one. And he bought like the top level one, so it's like it allows you a certain number of
You
meals.
get
a week.
capers with it? Like,
Do
do they even know what capers are at Olive Garden?
They give you utensils, but this turned out to be a real caper.
Oh, Jesus. Why did I even set you up for
He
that?
spent $600 on the pasta pass, and he got $6,000 worth of use out of the never-ending pasta pass, because apparently they have a limit of 4 takeout orders per day. And so he ordered for his whole office every single day. So he would send out a sheet.
I thought you were going to say that he ate all of it, but okay, he was ordering
that's
for
what
a
you would
slew
think.
of people.
But there is a thing. So he fed his whole office. He was the most popular person in the office. He fed the entire office. And then he even got some takeout orders and took them to a shelter and fed, like a food bank, and fed a bunch of people. Which I didn't know they could take fresh food, because I feel like every time you go there, they're like, I hope it's in a can. But, you can't just walk in there with lasagna and just hand it to him. But he...
Beggars can't be choosers.
Well, that's what I thought. Did I ever tell you the story about one time I was in Westwood?
One story at a time.
No. Just a little branch off of that. One time I was in Westwood, and there was this very nice homeless lady, and I said, I had some takeout, and I said, would you like... it was a full portion of something. I handed it to her, and she's like, no, it's fine. I just wanted money instead. And I was like, okay, that's the last time I do something nice for somebody.
Oh, no. I have a very similar story.
Okay, that was all about the Olive Garden, though. This guy scammed him out of a few $1,000s and then fed his whole office and some homeless people, too. But yes.
I was at Ralph's on the corner of 3rd Street in La Brea.
On the corner of Lancashire and going to the Perk.
I had just bought some groceries, and I put them in my car, and this guy came up behind me and was like, "Excuse me, I don't mean to bother you, but my family and I are starving. I have kids. Can you help me out?" And so I looked and I went, I grabbed the lunch meat and the bread out of my bag and I was like, "Would you like this?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Okay, bye." And I got in my car and drove away. He was looking for money. He didn't have a kid. He didn't have a family. He was looking for some
drugs. But no, when Kyle gets here, he can tell you the story of one time up in Washington. He was working. He was having his lunch.
This is why I told you not to go off on a tangent.
We'll end this. But one time he was working, and this homeless gentleman walked up and said, "Can I get like a meal or something?" So he sat there. He bought him a meal and everything. And then he's like, "Can you give me some more food? Like, I need some groceries and stuff." He took him. He walked into Ralph's with this guy, which is the nicest. I would not have done this. Like, if this guy would have walked up to me, I would have just started, at least, coughing or something. Took him into Ralph's, and the manager came over and was like, "Hold on a second. This guy needs to leave." And Kyle's like, "Why?" Like, just because he's like, "Because he's done this stuff like the 5th time this week. Like, we can't have him, like, running up to people coming into our store and begging for things. He's not needy. We've tried. We've called every service. Like, he's fine. He just does this." And Kyle turned around and looked at him and was like, "You need to get the hell out of here." So, what we've learned...
No good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah. Is that your Real Housewives tagline?
No.
What's your Real Housewives tagline? We've been catching up on Real Housewives of Orange County now that we've spent more time here. I will have to say the best tagline was season 1 of Real Housewives of Orange County.
Oh, God.
When Lori... First of all, I didn't know that there were going to be taglines,
Right.
but they selected one from her where it's something like... She was like, "Has the police been notified?" And that was her
Were the police involved?
Were the police involved? Like, that's her tagline. So, like, other ones are like, like, "I'm thin and no one's thinner." Like, that's their taglines or something. Like, like, "I'm rich and you're all poor." Like, that's basically the usual taglines. But hers was, "Were the police involved?"
So
I think that's the best one. Because it was unintentional.
No. The best one, and I'll give you mine because it came back to me. The best one was from the 1-season hijacked show of Real Housewives of DC.
Ooh.
Where,
the gate crashers, the
yes,
White House crashers.
Where Linda
Ronstadt.
Escobar, some, as you said, Armenian name.
She's married to an Armenian. She's not Armenian, but she's married.
She was married to an Armenian.
Yeah.
They were divorced.
She's married to the game.
Her tagline was, "I give people enough rope to hang themselves. The smart ones don't." That is some boss ass shit. Some boss bitch shit. It's smart. It's a smart phrase. And it's something, frankly, I'd like to live by. I give people enough rope to hang themselves. The smart ones don't. So don't hang yourself. I'm talking to you.
Me?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't. I don't like heights.
You don't have to. Anyway. My Real
I'm not
Real
into that
Housewives
shit.
tagline would be, "It's not that I don't give a fuck. It's that I have no fucks to give."
They would have to bleep out half the tagline. Unless they release it on Peacock or Peacunt or whatever this show is. This streaming.
But the fact that I just said my tagline, which I think is actually pretty clever, and you just walked right the fuck over it. I hope someone in the comments will at least say, "That was good."
My Real Housewives tagline is, "Fuck your tagline."
Let's talk about the tagline.
Let's talk about the tagline. Speaking of gay icons.
You never finished your
What? Olive Garden's done.
Olive Garden story.
That was it. It was just the guy with the pasta pass. And the old people go there at 4:30. They get the $10, $12 unlimited breadsticks, salad, and soup. And they get a fucking dinner. And seasonally, Olive Garden has the buy one, take one. You can buy a meal, like a spaghetti and meatballs.
Right.
And then take one home.
Right.
That's serving cunt, as they say in the military.
It's not good food, so
It's okay. I'm not a big fan. But I'm Italian, you're Italian. You know, we're both very greasy and argumentative people. It's fine for what it is. I prefer macaroni.
It's really
grill.
not.
Really? It's not bad. I was surprised. It's not bad.
A lot of things aren't bad, but you don't necessarily want them or should have them.
Right, but if in a pinch. Okay, compared to Chili's, Applebee's, a lot of these other big chains, Texas Whorehouse.
In a pinch, I'd go to Chili's over Olive Garden because I'd
really?
get their El Presidente margarita.
What's the El Presidente?
That's their house margarita. I don't know.
For prom night, we went to this place in Fresno I think it was called Row, and it was a sushi
How
place.
apropos.
It was a sushi place. Like a couple months, half the girls did not get their food, so they were furious. And then
You went with girls?
That's prom. You have to.
You're fat.
What?
Oh my god. So we went with women. I know the girl I went with looked like a real linebacker, but anyway, we went with women, and a couple weeks later there was like a fatal shooting at that sushi restaurant, and I wish it happened that night. It would have made it so much better. It would have been that night was awful. Anyway,
That's a great story. You should remember it and tell it at parties.
I will.
Okay. When I went to my first homecoming, freshman year of high school,
More like homo coming.
no one was coming that night.
I'm like your Ed McMahon, but with disabilities. Heyo. Anyway.
So, okay, to give you some context here, I went to homecoming with a uterus-bearing person,
With a lady.
but we double dated with a friend of mine who I actually was in love with. So a guy that I was like in love with, and who turned out to be a sociopath and turned out to be actually gay and treated me like shit. But that's a different story.
Wow, tell it again.
So we went to homecoming together as a fourple.
Fourple? Quadruple?
Yeah.
Frupple. A frupple.
So
Frumpy couple.
he told me that he had made reservations at this local Italian place.
Okay.
We show up, long wait. He had not made reservations, and so we were like, well, we'll never get a table. So we left, and we went to the place across the street, which was Sullivan's, which was the ritziest steakhouse in the entire city of Baton Rouge, which isn't saying much, but still, like, a hefty chunk of change.
It's the place in Baton Rouge you go when you're wearing pants.
My parents had given me, money to buy my dinner and my
Like
date's
$40.
dinner. And, like, that would have bought the appetizer. And so when I had to pay with the credit card, rather than the cash that they gave me, I went home and my mother was like, "You did what? That's the last time I'm letting you go with him anywhere." And then, 2 years later, I was sucking his dick in the back of a car.
So you did get dinner.
2 years later. Oh, and his date ordered the ahi tuna, and she sent it back because it wasn't cooked enough. It was seared ahi tuna, and she was like, "I want it well done." And I'm like,
Why would you order ahi tuna in Baton Rouge, Louisiana? Like, that seems like the dumbest idea ever.
so about that row.
Yeah, salmon or sturgeon. I like salmon because I feel like it has a little bit more pop when you eat it, but I don't know, sturgeon. If you can
About
afford
that
it.
Wade.
Which Wade?
The row weight.
I weighed in last week and I was at 222. I read the concurring opinion that Thomas wrote that everyone's getting upset about, where he mentioned the other cases. Obergefell, the gay marriage one, the, what's the one in Texas? Something versus Texas. Was it Lawrence versus Texas?
Yes.
Yeah. There was the birth control one, the sodomy one, the gay marriage one, and other ones. And the thing he mentioned was, here's the problem. You people used this supposition of rights, like this idea behind Roe versus Wade, to justify other rulings afterwards that on their own merits could have very well been justified. The problem was you used faulty logic to do that. So a future court could potentially call those into question because we let this stand for so long. So it was not I'm going to strike them down. It was he said specifically, the sentence before that saying, this ruling has only to do with abortion and the fact that life is involved. It has nothing to do with any other ruling. Do not interpret this to have anything to do with any other ruling. So he said specifically, like, it's not like, as the kids say now, no cap. Like, it had nothing to do with anything else. But it's close enough. But the fact that he even mentions other cases, they said he's going to overthrow them. That's what they're going to do. They're going to overthrow gay marriage next. That's what's going to happen. He said, no, if you want this to stay in the way that it is or the way it's set up, you have to define these things better, because you cannot find a right to gay marriage in the Constitution. You cannot find a right to birth control in the Constitution. It's not there. And this idea that you started with abortion and just went for this sort of right to privacy beyond that was a complete invention and stayed on for way too long, was a huge mistake, and it's going to hurt a lot of people. So you have to figure this out. That was basically what he said. And that got determined as he is going to go into a lesbian household and pick up a marriage certificate and rip it in half in front of their gay children. You know. So that's what happened.
They're not going to, and they can't, because of the tidal wave of things that would come after it. They will not and can't overturn Obergefell.
Yeah.
I don't think it should have ever been decided in that way.
Oh.
They should never have granted gay marriage to begin with. Because, just like Roe versus Wade, marriage is not a constitutional right.
Right.
It should have been left up to the states.
Yeah.
It should have been just like just like abortion. It should have been left up to the states. And I understand the problem that would create, whereas, you might get married in a state that would allow it, and then have to or want to move to some state that does not recognize your marriage, and that could cause problems. But I think there would be a way to figure it out, specifically if you really just, which is where we got in the weeds in the first place. Call it something else. If it's a civil union with all the same rights and all the same privileges,
Yeah.
but it's just called something different,
Yeah.
then what's the big deal? Okay, so now you're moving to a red state where you now don't have a marriage, but you have a civil union.
Right.
Okay, but you still get all the same benefits and all the same, rights. Who the fuck cares?
Well, that was a big part of the decision and the reason why it had to be done, because
back then, when this was a whole argument, people were talking past each other. The religious right was saying marriage, the word marriage, is between a man and a woman because that is biblical.
Correct.
And the gays were saying, but we just want the rights.
Right.
And the religious right wasn't saying, we won't give you the rights, we just don't want you to call it marriage. They were talking past each other the whole time.
Well, and what happened in California
it became
during
a whole fight.
Right, in California during Prop 8 that upheld the fact that marriage was between a man and a woman, which was a yes on 8 position. But in California, the fact they put it to a ballot proposition, even though a civil union and a marriage had the exact same, under the eyes of the state of California, rights. It was one word that they changed on a piece of paper, and that was enough to cause violence against Mormons, violence against blacks and other minorities, anybody who was Christian at that period of time. And that's the part where they lose, because they'll always end up losing. The radical, gay extremists, abortion extremists, everything like this, they'll always lose because they are the quickest to violence and attacking people for their religious beliefs. And that's not something that's an opinion, that's just empirical. And that's what we've already seen today now, and we're going to be seeing more of, unfortunately, because we are in a position now where no matter what the law says or how it's interpreted or how people function in a majority of the states or whatever, anything like that, the takeaway from it is bad thing happened. Now, how many more times can bad thing happened translate into violence or anger or whatever until it just becomes exhaustion? Because after a certain point, you can't say bad thing happened, attack these people, bad thing happened. You can't say that until either people start to just completely tune it out. Because you can't be angry about climate change and abortion and about this and COVID and everything. You can't be angry about everything all the time. Like, that doesn't work, and they know.
I have one more topic to discuss before we cut for the night.
Why? We're still talking about abortion. Are you aborting
we
this
beat
topic?
that fetus to death.
Oh, God. Okay, one more thing I do want to mention.
Jesus.
Though. This is data-based. France and Germany...
What'd you call me?
You can't just whip it out right now. We're not done yet. France and Germany put a limit on abortions at 12 weeks. Mississippi, which was the most restrictive state in the country that they had, that the case went up to the Supreme Court, was 14 weeks. So the most conservative state and restrictive on abortion in the United States was still more liberal than Europe. And yet, you have Macron, the president of France, and other major European leaders putting out these hysterical tweets. Macaron, the president of France. I don't know. Everyone says Charles de Gaulle has been illegitimate to me, but that's my opinion. But you have Macron putting out a statement saying, this is terrible. We've set back women's rights many years. Like, we don't support what's going on in America. Like, we feel after 3 months, 4 weeks per month, 12 weeks total, you can't get an abortion in France. You can't. Which was shorter than Mississippi, that was the most restrictive. And Germany and all these other developed countries and civilized countries.
Developed.
The
Homogenous.
only countries that had abortion up to the limit that we did were China and North Korea. And so now you've moved out of that realm into the realm of more civilized countries. So that was the last statement I went to make regarding that. And they say, well, those countries don't have guns. Well, yeah, those countries, they don't have a constitution like we do. We're aborting this topic. It's an interesting day, and for our purposes, history-changing day.
We're
But
conceiving a new topic.
I'm bringing something up that happened last week. The Texas GOP.
Oh, yes.
They had their convention last week.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were two main issues. First and foremost was, I say this. First and foremost, should have been first and foremost, they put in their platform that they do not condone homosexuality. That it's, I don't have the quote in front of me, but basically it's an aberration, right? It's something that's unnatural. So in 2022, they're still putting this in their platform. That was number one. Number two, which actually got more news coverage and attention, was the fact that log cabin Republicans put in a petition to have a booth at the convention and were promptly denied. For some reason, that got the coverage. I understand, like, it's a big deal. And it is a problem. But the bigger deal should have been that they put in their platform that being gay was against nature. But
First of all, who writes these platforms? Who has the time?
Rinaldi,
That Matt Rinaldi guy. That's how Go Proud was formed, with Andrew Breitbart, Jamila Salvia, Chris Barron, Ann Coulter, as the gay conservative group saying, okay, if CPAC doesn't want us, we're going to do our own thing. And it was smart, because it was like, look, they saw past the marriage issue. They're like, gay marriage is not what we're focused on. We're focused on, there's countries out there that want us dead, mostly Islamic. Taxes obviously affect us as much as they affect any other Americans. The gays are the highest earning minority group in the United States. You know, taxes affect them more than anybody. So we want lower taxes. And the idea that just because we are gay or we are whatever, everything like this, we agree on 95% of the same things. When it comes to borders, when it comes to, you know, social policy, when it comes to all these other things. And so it was successful, and they eventually got CPAC to relent at the time, and Go Proud did what they needed to do. But I don't know why the Texas GOP thought that this was a good idea. It seems stupid. They keep nominating that dumb shit in the wheelchair for governor. Abbott. He's not very smart. Abbott's fine. He's not smart. He's not smart, and he doesn't know what he's doing. And they could do better at this point, especially for a state as big as Texas. So that part doesn't make any sense to me. And I don't know what the purpose of this was, because they asked these people for a statement, and I think they said something like, well, something about groomers, I don't know. The Texas GOP or whoever this Rinaldi person is like, we don't want any groomers. I was like, okay, great. Neither do we. And that's why there's that Gays Against Groomers movement that the log cabin people have started. And good
not
for them.
officially log cabin related.
Log cabin related people.
Log cabin associated people.
Log cabin third cousins have created that. And so it's good. It's good that there's things like that where it's like, okay, this is not what we believe, and here's who we are, and you're probably behind, and that's fine. I don't think there's any hate there. I just think it was very stupid and short-sighted because, you know, the gays are writing the checks. So what do you want?
I'm not, in all transparency, yes, I work very closely with and for some of the log cabin people.
What?
But I'm not saying this as that official capacity. They've come leaps and bounds from what they used to be. Mm-hmm. And they are now an actual voice that people listen to.
Well, not a lot of people know that log cabin Republicans were, in the beginning, like California people, things like that. Like they did very well with Reagan and all that. And they got to a really kind of grim point. Not long ago either. Like it was bad as far as fundraising goes. It was bad for her.
Right. It's bounced back quite well. It's come back,
and thanks to the efforts of some very important people who have worked very hard to make that the case.
But I want it to be known that there are new chapters popping up all over the country all the time.
Right.
There are new people interested and wanting to join and wanting to know more about it.
Well, there's a lot of gays who don't understand why we're throwing, rocks through pro-life places, clinics.
There are so many people who are on the fence politically, in the political ideology, that will be chased away because of this.
Right.
People that I am writing and I am working to bring them over to the sane side of the conversation, and they're being scared away by someone in the Texas GOP saying we don't want you.
Right.
And so this has national outreach. This has national effects. And
See, this is why the Texas
It's
GOP is
just
stupid.
a
What would
problem.
you rather have? Beto O'Rourke? You want Beto? You want him with his little thin arms, thin wrists? You want him in charge of that, in charge of a role in that state or representing that state? No. So, what would you rather have? That? What's going to shore up the most support? Focus on that. That's where we're at now.
I
Right.
hate to think that, they put out they put out this kind of stuff, and
Well, that was
so
stupid.
much of the work that I've done and so much of the work that my colleagues have done is kind of erased because of one bad move.
Well, it'll get stomped out. I think it's dumb and short-sighted, and it'll get dealt with. She was the one to make it bad for him,
What?
Matt Rinaldi. She was the one making it bad for
Oh my
him.
god.
Exactly, and I told her, I said,
said,
"Ma'am."
I just have to say, good night and fuck you all.